Hi there, welcome to Boxing Deep Dive. I'm Lyndon Hosking, and great to have you along for yet another episode of the Deep Dive show. And have we got a massive show for you tonight? I don't even know where to start. We've got international, we've got Aussie, we've got all sorts of things going. We've got the talking points, plenty to talk about there, and of course, the quiz that everyone talks about over the water cooler all week at work. Speaking of the quiz, I'd like to bring in my co-host for this episode, Grant Tassie Brown, Peter Matianas. How are we, guys?
Good, thanks,
Good
Lyndon.
to be back, guys. Good to be on the show.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. As I said, we've got so much to get through. Pete, I like your chances tonight. Tassie, we had a pretty big night up in Newcastle last night, so I reckon if you're going to get him, this might be your opportunity.
I was thinking that, Lyndon.
I
was thinking like late night at the boxing, early flight back to Melbourne, had to work all day. This is the best chance Peter's ever had, I reckon.
Well, at least you'll have an excuse, won't he, Pete? We'll see how we go. But look, it was. We'll get onto it all in a second, obviously. But so much happening in Newcastle last night, of course, and then on the weekend with Canelo, and there's so much going on with the Cambosos Haney card, and I mean it's just a great time to be a boxing fan at the moment, and and Tassie were there obviously last night, and just the whole show, and a young bloke named Zoo, wow, just unbelievable, and a great show by No Limit as well, I've got to say.
Yeah, mate, a lot. Obviously, big ups to No Limit, and big thank to Glenn Jennings for obviously for mine and Bo's tickets and seats and passes and everything, and Matty and George Rose and what they do, and it was a good show. Lyndon, it was great to see you, Lyndon. I've seen you twice recently at the fights, which is a bit like we don't really bump into each other very much, so it's good to see you, mate. And look, it was a good
Who
night,
had
mate.
better seats? Who had better seats, you or Lyndon?
No, we sat just by each other, actually. I was surprised. I thought I'd be up the
Yeah.
back and Tassie be ringside, but we're actually just together. So
I was.
No hot dog stand for you, Lyndon.
no.
No, I was ringside for Nikita's fight, if you noticed.
And we'll see the video in a minute. I did actually notice you up in the ring at one stage during Leighton McFerrin and Harry Garside, so there's no holding you back.
No, I promoted Leighton twice, and he's a fellow Tasmania, mate, and I obviously was in the change rooms the whole night, walked him out and was there, and support Twigsy and Adrian Lovell, and but yeah, I filmed for Costa in Russia. I filmed Nikita's fight for him. Like Costa always gets me to do these jobs. He done it with Tim as well. So I done it in Bendigo when he fought on your show, you and Peter. So Costa got me again sitting there videoing, but I can't say no to the great legend.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's. What about you, Pete? Did you watch it last night, or you just saw the highlights today?
Yeah, no, I did watch it.
Yeah.
I did watch it. I actually watched it with Sam LeBruna
Oh, yeah.
at his house. It's the Angel bus driver.
Well, it's not a big event without Angel bus driver there.
The Angel bus driver was there.
And Pretty Boy George, of course.
And Pretty Boy George, and Pumpkin was there too, his best mate. So a few panel beaters were there too at work with Sam. So it was a pretty good night. I enjoyed it. I thought the fights were good. And I think Australian boxing's getting to that stage now where the common bloke the common sports fan now enjoys watching the fights because most of them are pretty competitive fights. And they're not walkovers anymore. You get like Goodman's fight. He got up off the canvas. I mean, I don't know how the judge from Francis Chua's fight gave that fight to Francis Chua against a Japanese opponent. That needs to be questioned. That judge, whoever he is, he needs to be taken to school.
Yeah, I've got that on the agenda there as well. But look, before we get into all the fights in detail in a second, Tassie, what I loved about it was Peter just talked about the everyday fan out there, but I just loved the Newcastle vibe, I suppose, and the people that were there. Don't get me wrong, there are a lot of messy people there that had quite a big night out, but they went there, they enjoyed the fights. There was no trouble, of course, but they enjoyed the fights. They were very vocal, very supportive in who they were going for, and I just thought it was great to go to an event where so many passionate fans and no trouble, which obviously is a bonus.
I can't tell you how many times I've been to Newcastle for fights. I was there in 1998 with Costa Zoo, with Johnny Lewis, part of the team when he fought Calvin Grove. I've been there for a lot of Anthony Mundine fights, a lot. Crazy Kim. I looked after Shane Mosey there as well on one of the Mundine fight nights. And again, when Tim's fought there, now in Nikita, crowd really get behind it. I mean, Glenn Jennings is like the mayor of Newcastle. All security there was his last night. But yeah, look, they're a great passionate crowd. They're a little bit like, it reminds me of Tasmania. Very Aussie, very crowd. You know, they really they cheer loud and they drink hard. And mate, look, it was a good night, Lyndon. There's some good fights. There was a good, for me personally. I mean, you know, getting to see my old trainer Johnny Lewis and Jeff Fennick in the same room means a lot to me. And my old teammates, Nate Hamden, Sucker Bicker, Love More to Do, like, you know, these are my old teammates. So seeing everyone together on the one night, seeing you, I mean, it really, really was a really good night. Not just the boxing, but, you know, when we're all comrades, and that's what means the most to me, going to the fight nights.
Yeah, I was actually going to mention that a bit later on, and we've got plenty to get through. We'll get moving in. We've already.
Sorry, mate.
Sorry. It's all good. No, I was just going to say we've got a lot to get through as far as this event goes. We've already covered nearly all of it. But let's get on with the main event, of course, which was Paul Gallen, who was upset by Chris Terziewski. I think I've pronounced that right, Pete. I think we've been pronounced that wrong for about the last 4 weeks, but I think it's Terziewski according to the ring announcer last night. But upset Paul Gallen over 10 rounds to win the Australian and Australasian heavyweight title. The score's 97-92 times 3. What did you make of it, Pete? For me, I just thought right from the word go, from the first bell, that Gallen really struggled with the motivation levels to try and, you know, get into the fight.
I think the fight with Justice Hooney just about took a lot out of it.
Yeah.
Gallen, like he shot low at 40, just looked like a shot duck to me. Listen, it's the first time I've seen him fight, and
everyone's ringing. Well, give there, guys. Everyone's calling. Go ahead, mate.
It's not me.
No, and he what's going on?
That's you, Pete.
I'll get this, guys, and then I'll come back.
Okay. We've been shunned, Tazzy. Peter has left the building. What did you make of the fight? Because as I said, I thought right from the word go, I thought that Paul Gallen, you could just see the energy levels were a little bit low. He didn't come out with the same sort of aggression that he normally gets to. And we've got to remember, he's been up for some big fights recently. Lucas Brown, obviously Justice Hooney. And I just think he really struggled to get up for this fight. Full credit to Terziewski, by the way.
Full credit to Chris. And
yep.
I know a lot of people that know Chris. They all say what a great bloke he is. And
yep.
I saw him backstage, and he seems like a really, really nice guy. I know Gal pretty well, and he's a rip of a bloke. And look, I told my good friend Peter Baby Matreski, who's the manager of Harry Garside, and he's very close to Paul Gallen in his corner. I said, mate, I don't like this fight. I don't like the pick after fighting Hooney, who Gallen showed everyone that he's a real boxer by fighting Hooney and pushing Hooney into the 10th round. You know, Gallen is a proper legit fighter, and he's done great for boxing. But at this time in his career, fight a tall, rangy, moving, boxing southpaw, young guy, I think was crazy. Like, I think the matchmaking for this was just insane because, you know, Paul's the cash cow main event seller with not many fights left. If you're picking a guy that's unknown, now he's known. I mean, this guy life changed last night. This guy, Chris's life has changed now for the better for him and his family. God bless. Why would you pick a guy that no one really knows, who's tall, rangy, moves, a southpaw, young? Gallen, I think, had 4 weeks' notice, and like he wouldn't get up for him because he hasn't got the name. And I just think, I don't, as a promoter, and you both guys are promoters too, when you don't have to risk your guy against someone like this, I just think it's ludicrous. And there's no common sense in why did they pick this guy. I don't, even though Gal almost knocked him out in round 9 or whatever, 8, I just do not see the sense behind putting Gal up against this guy. Like, he was never going to, mate.
Yeah.
Stylistically, it was absolutely wrong.
I agree, Pete. What did you make of the? Tazzy just mentioned the 9th round there, where Gallen had Terziewski hurt, and we had the issue with the tape on the glove. And at one stage, I mean, right throughout the fight, it kept, it was sort of this much would come off, and they'd get it fixed up and all that. Gallen had him hurt in the 9th round. He had about 2 feet worth of tape hanging off his gloves. The referee didn't pull it up. Do you think it would have been different if it had been the other way around?
Look, Brad Vicali's an excellent ref, and you've got to realise the reason why they pull up when the tape is that much is because it can flick and hit you in the eye. And it can cut your eye. But when it was that long, it's basically not going to flick and hit you in the eye.
It could have flicked someone sitting at ringside in the eye. It was that long.
Yeah, but look, I'm with Brad. Brad probably thought he's got the momentum there, and it was a defining moment in the fight. Yeah. And it's that long that it's not going to really hurt you if it did flick. If it was a bit shorter and sharper, it might have. But I'm just giving Brad the benefit of the doubt here.
And look,
I mean, obviously, the most obvious thing was he stops it and they pull it off. But that tape came across to Trezeguet a few times. So if you've got a corner that can't even tape up a glove...
I thought he should have had points deducted. I really do. I think he, after
I think it happened 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, probably more like 6, I think.
6 was it? Well, there you go. So was giving him a chance.
Question for Peter. Peter, know what you've got with a guy like Gal. He's your main event pay-per-view. You haven't got many left with him, but he's the one that gets main event. Not many do. Tim does now, but not many. And Tim's going to be in America. So listen, would you pick an unknown guy with skills, height, reach, youth, southpaw like Chris? Would you make that decision?
Yeah, but how do we know that Gal picked him? I mean, No Limit might have come up and said, right, Goodall and Hoodie are unavailable.
No, would you have taken the fight if you're Gal's manager, is what he's asking?
Yeah, but you've got to see the situation. Either you take the fight or there is no fight, and you get, what's he getting?
Someone else.
500K a fight? He's getting 500K a fight?
It didn't have to be that guy.
Well, what do you do? He's 40 years of age. You set him on the bench.
Yeah, what Tassie's saying. Yeah, but what Tassie's saying, would you have picked that specific fighter to fight Gallen if you were his manager?
Look, realistically, you don't pick a southpaw that's slippery and moves like he does. But, you've got to weigh up options. He Gal's at the end of his career. He's 40 years of age. He doesn't want to wait. He's making money. He's doing this for money. That's all he's doing it for. And he's got a guy in there that presents a payday that's not going to hurt him. So, Gal was just shot. That's the thing. Gal didn't perform.
Yeah, I suppose...
It's not the Gal that Gal's normally a bit of a bulldog. He bangs to the body. He bangs the head. He mauls it. It wasn't there. Half the time he's gassing. But Trzeziewski's good. Hit him with some massive body shots. Hit him with some nice body shots. Slowed him down. This guy, kept him at bay.
Besides Hooney, he's the only proper boxer he's fought. Forget Big Daddy Brown, because that was a joke. Besides Hooney, he's the only proper boxer he fought. So I'm saying I wouldn't have gone near the guy. I would have got someone from anywhere else, overseas anyway. Gal's a name. No one bought the pay-per-views to watch Trzeziewski, no disrespect to him. They bought it for Gallen. So I just think it was a bad call, and it is what it is, but that's just my thing. I don't...
Yeah.
Well, I think COVID's taught us that the public that really want to watch in masses want to see proper fights.
Yeah.
And they want to see the other side at risk. So No Limit do that, and they do it very well. I think that's why they do get the big events and they do get the big numbers, because they do put Gallen in fights like this. And, Goodman got up off the canvas and a lot of the other fighters on the undercard didn't have it their own way, because that's what they do. You earn the big bucks, but you got to fight, pretty good, risky fights. And that's as a paying public, that's what we want. We don't want to be sitting back and watching Gallen punching.
I'm not saying fighter. I'm not saying fighter bum, but stylistically.
Well, who could he fight, Tassie? Who could he fight? So you're promoting it. They've got that.
There's got to be other people out there, Peter.
Like who?
There's got to be other. Who? All right.
No.
Well, there's a few. Look, there would have been a few out there. The thing is, it was on on 5 weeks' notice, so maybe the options were limited, which is why they chose Chris. Who knows? But
there's plenty of
Well, we'll come back to that anyway. But let's get on to the fighter that stole the show, and no guessing for this one. Nikita Tszyu destroyed Mason Smith for his second straight KO. He knocked him out in the first round, and Tassie, all you can say is wow.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, look, I didn't know much about Mason Smith, and I didn't really have much of an opinion. So don't really know much about him. But look, the game plan was wrong coming out to just punch on with Nikita, especially when you're not a puncher. Smith's not a puncher. I heard that. So, strategy wasn't very good. Nikita looked sharp. Nikita's got that power and that speed and accuracy. And, this will do wonders for his confidence. And I filmed it for his dad, Costa, in Russia. And, he looked great. Spoke to him afterwards. And, he's a very exciting guy. And Tim gets very involved in the fight. Tim's like with his brother, but like a father. He's very emotional in it. And Tim rates him very highly about his power. So, mate, look, we sort of knew anyway he's going to be special. As an amateur, I remember he was. And the Tszyu name is they're just unbelievable genetic.
Yeah, they are. So, Pete, what do you think of the game plan? Because Tassie and I spoke about this last night at the fights. Why, if you're not a big puncher yourself, why would you come out? I understand he was trying to get the respect of Nikita, but why would you come out and try and trade punches with a beast like Nikita Tszyu? It just didn't make sense.
Well, because Mason's first fight in the bright lights, and he probably got excited a bit, and Nikita comes at you as well. And Nikita's hittable. I mean, Mason did get some shots on him. It was a really good performance, but, put him up in class. He can't be hit with those type of shots, and he's a southpaw as well. So, there's certain areas he can tighten up on, but you've got to remember, he's only been training since November. This kid's been out of boxing for 8 years. To do that in his second fight, I mean, I rate him more impressive than what Tim was in his second fight. I saw Tim in his second fight. I think Nikita's above Tim when they're going. I mean, if he keeps improving the way he's going to do, this kid's going to take boxing by storm.
Yeah, no, and look, just all class. I really liked his whole demeanour, and who knows how far he'll go, but geez, you're right. I think his first 2 fights are probably more impressive than Tim's. He's obviously got a long way to go, but he's off to a great start anyway. Just a great team as well.
Great team. Great team.
All right. Well, the other party of the triple header was Harry Garside, who stopped Leighton McFerrin in 7 rounds to retain the Australian lightweight title. Tassie, you're obviously part of the McFerrin team, and look, game tough, but in the end, just a little bit outclassed by a real quality fighter.
Yeah, look, mate, this was a big moment for Leighton, and we was in the change rooms before with his trainers, Twig Millwood and Adrian Lovell, and look, he knew he said this is my world title fight. So he was always going to give it all he's got. He's so tough, and I promoted his last 2 fights before this one, and mate, look, he'd done his best. Garside, got everything, all the movement, the angles, the footwork, the time, and the punches. But mate, he showed how tough he was. He didn't take a backward step. The round he got stopped in was probably the round before was worse. He caught more, but mate, look, he just showed what a great heart he's got, and I'm sure he'll get another chance again on TV because he gave it his all, mate. And what can you do? Like, when you're up against a superior boxer like Garside, all you can do is give you all. And he did, mate. And he was upset that the referee stopped it because he didn't want to go out like that. He fought with his heart, great chin, and mate, just full credit to Leighton. Showed so much courage and guts, and in defeat. What a great effort. Yeah,
no, and Pete, I think especially credit should go to Brad Vicali, the referee. Great stoppage in the end. I mean, he wasn't knocked down, and and anything else. But it was a great stoppage, and he had enough.
Yeah, he did, and it was a good look. It's good in Australia now that we're getting these kind of matchups, and it's good that Harry Garside is fighting guys like McFarren early in his career because it's in the old days you'd be getting padded up with ties and what have you, and you'd build up a 10 and zip record, and you hadn't been hit yet. So he's getting in there and he's getting good competitive matchups early in his career. He's learning to fight. So how far can Harry Garside go? Who knows? But right at the moment, he's slick. He boxes well. He's got a high punch output. He's got a good chin. He's got an outstanding amateur career to back him up. And he's got a great team behind him. So he's going to get every opportunity to get on the international stage when the time's right. And it's just going to be interesting. And Leighton McFarren, take a bow. You showed tremendous heart.
Yeah, he did.
You took a lot of punishment and you did have a go. But, in reality, it was just that you got outclassed that was a superior fighter, skill-wise and speed-wise. And McFarren's just as tough as him, make no mistake, probably tougher. But he just got outclassed on the night by a real slick, potentially a world-class boxer.
Yeah, and full credit to Leighton for taking the fight because he was obviously up against it, but went in there and gave it his all. So full credit to Leighton. On the undercard, Sam Goodman had a 10-round win or decision win over Famia Fusi, 98-91 times 3. He was actually dropped in the first round, which was a big surprise, Tassie, because Fusi had only had one knockout in 11 wins. But I think that he couldn't punch was put to bed pretty quickly.
Yeah, I didn't see one bit of this fight. I was in the change rooms with Leighton the whole time. Was it a fair decision? Because I've heard him.
Pete, I thought it was a fair decision. I thought the Japanese guy, he was a very, very good fighter, all class, but I just don't think he did enough to really take the rounds. I think Sam Goodman, while it was the rounds were even, I don't think he did enough to really take more than a couple of rounds. That was reflected, obviously, in the scorecards.
Yeah, look, he was a good fighter, and it was a good fight, and he did have his moments in the fight, and that's what you get, I guess, when you pay for good quality opposition. And you fight for a Japanese fighter, and you're going to get a good quality opponent.
Yeah,
and
they always come to fight. Yeah.
No limit of doing. They had a couple of Japanese. One won, and the other one lost.
Yeah, well, the other Japanese fighter was Hironori Mishiro, won a 7-round decision over Francis Chua. I think that had a little bit to do with the getting a bit tight to the deadline of when the main event telecast started. But it was a 7-round decision, 69-64, 68-65, and surprisingly, Francis Chua 67-66. And I'm with you, Pete. I don't think Francis Chua went anywhere near winning the fight. I mean, he was game as he always is, but the Japanese was a level above.
Yeah, he was. I'm just shocked at that judge, and it scares me to say where does that come from. I mean, was he watching the same fight everyone else was? It's just scary.
Yeah. Well, the other fight on the card, Tassie, that was really entertaining was Hassa Hamden with a 6-round decision over Trent Gerdam. He also got dropped in the first round. The scores were 57-56, 58-55, and 58-55. Now, there was a little bit of a controversy afterwards. A few words were said and a couple of shoves here and there. But I must admit, mate, I thought worst case, Hamden won 4 out of the 6 rounds, which still would have put him 1 point in front.
Well, the thing was, my dear friend Hassa Hamden, who was a bloody world-class fighter, fought for world title and a ripper bloke, and mate, he shoved one of the trainers.
Yeah, Rodney Williams.
Shit, so you're not going to come up and Rodney Williams and talk shit to Nader's son. So Nader just said, and I tell you now, he's lucky Nader didn't do more, because Nader is a very, very a beautiful soul, but he's a tough man, mate, before boxing. Nader's a very, very hard man. So they carried on with the wrong person, and then you got Jeff Fennick there as well. So there's no need for it. The MMA guy is a very good fighter, and he's very, very tricky. He feints, he moves, he can punch, and he got a knockdown. I thought Hamden done a great job to come in. Like you said, Lyndon, he won the fight fair and square. But it was a very competitive fight. And there was no need for any dramas afterwards and being sore losers, mate. So well done to Hassa Hamden, Nader Hamden, Jeffrey Fennick, Team Fennick, and and the other guy's got a good career, mate, ahead of him. What's his name? Gerdam, is it?
Gerdam, yeah.
Yeah, Gerdam. So, well done to him as well. But, yeah, no need for carrying on afterwards, mate, and it is what it is, mate,
Yeah, no, it was. He looked okay, Peter, but I was a little bit perplexed that he obviously got dropped with that big shot in the first round, but then he spent the next 5 rounds. That was my only probably criticism of Hamden, who again, as I said, I thought won the fight. But even though he got hit with that hard shot and dropped in the first round, he sat on the ropes, he stayed in the corner. He should have just been on the move. What do you think? That was just my 2 cents anyway.
No, look, Hamden's an outstanding prospect, and his father, Nader, what a great bloke.
Yeah.
I thought it was a terrific performance by the kid. He's learning, he's developing.
Come back from that.
Really excited to see his fights coming up. I think it's exciting. You've got Jeff Bennick there as well. Just an old team, and his dad's such a great bloke and ambassador for boxing that, I thought it was a first-class performance from Hamden. I can't wait to see his next fight.
Well, before we move on to the rest of the Aussie news, guys, one thing I do want to say, and Tassie touched on it at the start, I want to say a massive, massive thank you to Glenn Jennings. We were also guests of Glenn on the night with Shannon O'Connell was there as well. He was so busy. He was looking after the merchandise stall. He's running around looking, helping all the people out with tickets and everything else. The amount of time he come over numerous times, he sat down, he had a chat, he took us down to the change rooms to meet Nikita and the team, and who are all class as well. And Nikita, just a great bloke. You obviously know him, Taz. That was the first time I met him, but lovely guy. And as I said, just thank you to Glenn Jennings. He had so much going on, but he took all the time out to make sure he came and showed us our seats, sit down and have a chat, take us out the back after the fight, and it was just great. So thank you to and the seats, of course, which wouldn't have been cheap. So yeah, really appreciate that, Glenn, and obviously No Limit.
Glenn's amazing, mate. He's just a real good man. I'm lucky enough to have known him from back in the Costa Zoo days, and he's just a really good guy. And professional outfit, mate. They just do everything really well, and then the Rose boys. But look, as I said, mate, I appreciate what Glenn done for us and Bo and yourself and Shannon, the mate. And when you got people like that in boxing, you can't go wrong. Good people that are the good part about the sport. Their word is their bond. And it's a bit rare in this game.
And the great thing about the whole team is sometimes when you're at that level, Pete, you can sort of forget who you are and your fans and your supporters and all that sort of stuff. But I've never seen a more down-to-earth team. I went out the back and they're all just like, they're all mates and having a Coke and, and taking photos and selfies and bringing people in, obviously sponsors and everything else. I just thought it was great. And I think sometimes it gets a little bit lost at how much it means to their fans and the supporters to have that sort of, not everyone gets to go backstage, I know, but they just really appreciate their supporters and they make it known. They do every single thing possible to make them feel part of the team.
Yeah, they do, and it's great. Boxing's back big time, and it's good you guys can go there and enjoy shows like that. And for us sitting back watching pay-per-view, it's just watching good matchups and decent fights. So that's what boxing's all about. And
the one thing I'll say before we do move on, I said that a couple of seconds ago, but the other thing I loved about, and you guys will really relate to this, and you touched on a little bit there, Tassie, as well. It's when you go to these big fights, and especially when you stay overnight and everything else, and you're staying at hotels with these guys and at the airport. I must admit, I've really missed the whole camaraderie that you said at the start, Tassie, with these guys. And I'll give you an example. I got to the airport. Well, actually, yesterday when I went to the airport, I ran into Barry Michael and sat there and had a coffee with Barry and a muffin, and we chatted for a couple of hours and everything else. It was really good. But then today, you get to the airport. I must admit, I got there at about 10:30 in the morning. My plane didn't go till about 2:30, so I thought, I'll just sit here for 4 hours. I thought, without doubt, everyone's got the early flights out of there and taken off, and I'll be sitting there by myself for 4 hours. But by the end of the day, I was sitting there with Tony Tolge and the WA team, and we had Chris Terziowski come over, and Mason Smith's teams come over, and there was Lieutenant Dan Hennessy and Adam Hyde, and we all sat there, just to see all these guys, and you guys know what I'm talking about. When you can sit there and just really talk boxing with these guys, whether at the hotel or the at the airport, and it's funny. Everyone's phones ringing off the hook because they're taking calls for fights and whatever else. But I just I haven't done it for a while, and I just love sitting there for 3 or 4 hours and just talking boxing, as I said, with Barry and Tony Tolge and and all the rest of them. It was just a really
your
good
next
day.
promotion, Lyndon? When's
What's
your
that?
next promotion? When's your next promotion?
Oh,
You've got
no,
the bug
mate,
done.
no. I did.
You see the fire in your belly, mate. I think the Tigers back in.
No, I did get asked that I did get asked that quite a few times.
Will be on fire.
As I said, I did get asked that, but I'm quite happy to be the one that jumps on the coattails and gets the free tickets and all that sort of stuff. But no, I mean,
well, if you do want at St Kilda Town Hall, Lyndon, you've got to get the limousine from Macklin Street to St Kilda Town Hall for Tassie.
All right, no, I'll do that. But but as I said, I just wanted to mention that because I'm sure you guys know where I'm coming from. But it was just great to sit there and with so many 30 or 40 boxing people around the airport and just run into Sam Brizzy and just really good.
Talking to Sam.
Yeah, really good people.
You can't beat that, Lyndon. Look, I mean, at the end of the day, we love the game. All three of us here now, we love the game. We know the game. We all are respected by everyone in the industry, and to sit down with blokes that you respect as well, mate, it's awesome. And like, as I said, like for me to catch up last night with old teammates, guys I used to go to training with day in day out, spar them, go out sometimes after the fights, to see a couple of my old trainers, like relive the the history of like, it makes you happy, mate. Like because I mean. You'll know, Lyndon, as a fighter, my happiest part of my life was when I was boxing.
Yeah.
It's not now.
Yeah.
It was when I was boxing. That's gone. And sometimes you can't live in the past, but it doesn't hurt to go down memory lane sometimes. And when you do see someone that was in that time with you, it's a good thing.
And I actually ran into, just as we were boarding the plane today, Simon Patterson, who was a teammate of mine.
He sat behind me. Simon.
Yeah, at the 98 Commonwealth Games.
He's a teammate of yours as well. He's a
teammate
of mine as well.
Yeah, he was on the Commonwealth Games team in 98. And
he was at the Oceanas with me in 99.
Oh, was it? Yeah, and just a good player. I hadn't seen him.
He's a good guy, Simon.
I hadn't seen him for 24 years since we were actually on the team together, so it was great to see him as well.
I've seen him a few times.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, well, let's move on, guys. We've still got a heap to get through. Pete, I want I won't say opinion, I want your gossip on this one. I'm referring to the Ace Boxing card. Peter Salasui, who beat Ben Kelleher by split decision to win the IBO regional title. Now, if you're all watching beIN Sports on Saturday night, you would not have seen this fight because we had the undercard, of course. There was a controversy of the fight beforehand with Manuel Mate and what was his name, Jalen Tate. So he got stopped in the 7th round. They cut the feed. They said there was a medical emergency. There was no fight. We had to watch it on a live stream. I think someone had it on Instagram. What's the goss? I've heard about 10 different stories. What have you heard? Without putting anyone into it, by the way.
No, I just heard that, yes, it was a medical emergency and it was only the doctor had to attend to a medical emergency and they got the main event going an hour later or 45 minutes or an hour later, and it was on the next day, which I watched the next day. And,
it wasn't on...
It was a good win.
Yeah, it wasn't on that... Yeah, it was a good win by him too. Yeah, I watched it on, as I said, an Instagram feed. It definitely wasn't 45 minutes after the fight because I watched the end of the co-main and I quickly turned it over to watch the footy scores, and I think I watched 5 or 6 minutes of it and thought I'll come back, and they were already into the replay of a show last year, and so I went on Instagram and it was in about the 5th round, so it couldn't have been that long. Look, it's just a shame, and what I was just going to say, Pete, more than anything, and as I said, I've heard lots of different things that have happened that wasn't a medical emergency. But the one person I did feel for was Angelo DiCarlo, above everything. He's had 2 shows now on beIN Sports. The first one was obviously the Billy Dibb and Jacob NG fiasco with that one. And now he's had this one. So I do feel for him, and I really hope that that Fox Sports or beIN Sports don't hold it against him, and and he continues on with these shows.
I love beIN Sports. I love that channel. It's got all the the exclusive soccer games that you don't normally see. It's got the tennis games. It's got, now the boxing. It's just putting things on that, the average fan wants to see, and it might not be high rating. So I love that station.
Well, the fight, obviously, that I was talking about before was the Jalen Tate, Manuel Matei fight. And it was stopped in the 7th round. I'm not sure whether you've seen it, Tassie, but at the time of the stoppage, I can understand why they were upset because it was actually even. It was 58-56 for Tate, 58-56 for Matei, and 57-57 each. The problem was, well, not a problem, but the reasoning is that Tate came out and threw about 30 or 40 unanswered punches to Matei. He didn't answer back. There wasn't a lot getting through. There's a few, but not a lot. But he didn't answer any other punches, and I don't think the referee had any choice but to stop the fight. But obviously Matei was absolutely filthy with it, and Rodney Williams was in the corner of that one as well, and that got a little bit ugly. And Tassie, I touched on this on the Talking Boxing show earlier in the week. One thing I was really disappointed about was that the referee, no one had his back. He was in there by himself. I understand the emotion and everything else. Rodney and Matei were in his face, and obviously they were frustrated and everything else. But after that was over, they kept going at it. No one came to the referee's aid. I would have really expected that the combat board would have got in there and taken control, or worst case, maybe a security member or something would have got in there and said, guys, back off and in your place. Because like in football and everything at the moment, the referees and umpires, they're sacrosanct. Don't go near them. Obviously we all get frustrated, but I really felt for him because he was just hung out to dry.
Yeah, you get. Someone should be having order of security to be there because look, you can't have that. I mean, whether it's a right or wrong decision, officials, nothing's going to help boxing if officials are getting
it doesn't
abused or
doesn't help the cause, does it? When they're trying to get new referees and judges into the sport, and they're getting verbally attacked.
It wouldn't happen on a Peter Maniata show, mate.
No, it wouldn't. Pete, do you think one of my ideas was with this is that maybe they've got to start, and I hope it doesn't, we never get any drama, but just a simple thing would be with the combat board on the night that when the fight's over, the security jumps in the ring and he just stands by around the referee, just a presence, just to keep the peace, because we don't know what's going to happen. I know we don't want to preempt anything, but just to say to the security guards at ringside, just jump up in the ring and just stand there around the referee, just so you're there.
Yeah, look, in any sport, the referee should be sacred because they're the people that are judging the incident, so they shouldn't feel pressure on him. Obviously, emotions run high straight after a fight, and the trainers and what have you, and the fighters get really upset. The thing that comes to my mind is always, Zab Judah with Kostya Tszyu when he grabbed Jay Nato, the referee, by the throat. Yeah, and the sort of security called him and grabbed him. But, you do stuff like this and you regret it later. So, it just depends on the person. But, it would be good to have security guards flock up on the ring apron and I mean, did they jump in the ring? Like, is that what you want, or do you just
maybe just one security guard just jumps up in the ring and just goes and stands by the referee, just not as in a threatening way, but just to be there, a bit like they do at the football with the umpires when they walk on and off the ground. They have security just walking along with them because, as I said, we don't want referees and judges like that happening in football at the moment in the codes all around the country where they're struggling to get young people coming through to be referees or umpires because they get so much abuse from over the fence and threats. So that's my thing. And as I said, I don't ever want to get to the day where a referee or anything's getting attacked, but I think we could avoid it just by having a referee get up there. And on the other hand as well, especially in the instance of Matei, who kept going and going and going, the combat board in Queensland should give him a please explain and some sort of sanction. That's all I'm going to say. I think his coach, Rodney Williams, should have a warning. And I think Matei should have some sort of sanction, whether it's a ban or something as well, because the way he carried on was...
He's lucky now to Hamden didn't throw him over the ropes the other night, so he needs to probably take a bit of a chill pill, I think.
I suppose what I'm conscious of here too, guys, is that all these promoters have worked so hard to get Fox and beIN Sports and Main Event and all that, and the interest in boxing back, and boxing's flying high at the moment. I don't want anything to take away from that. So whatever it takes to be safe and everyone happy, let's do it.
100%, Lyndon. Boxing already has a bad name through the people that it attracts. I mean, I love them sort of people, but like people that don't like that. People, whether it's the elements of crime or or incidents that happen at the boxing. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I'm a knock around myself, but
Yeah.
it's not a good profile when we're trying to put it on TV. We're trying to get corporate sponsors. So we don't need to go down that way again. I mean, I broke up a fight in Queensland, like, as I said, like, between certain parties, just so that wouldn't happen. So, yeah, we don't want to go down that way because we're trying to get boxing back mainstream, and we can't have it fall off again.
Yeah, agree, mate. Well, we'll quickly move on to the next one. It was last weekend as well. It was Mike Altamura's boy, Mattia Tapia, wins the WBA Oceania Super Middleweight title with an 8th round TKO or KO of, I'll try and pronounce this, Wenceslao Mansilla for the WBA Oceania Super Middleweight title. On the undercard, Jack Bowen knocked out Les Sherrington in 2 rounds, which is probably predictable. Jason Malia, saw Jason at the airport today, absolute lovely young guy, I'm sure is destined for big things. He knocked out Alfred Samuel in the 1st round. And great to see Nathaniel Cheeky May back with a 2nd round KO of Rivo Reng Kung. So, Pete, yeah, really good, especially, as I said, for Nathaniel May to be back.
Yeah, good to see them all back. Mattia Tapia came back, from hand surgery. Was it hand surgery? And he's a talented fighter, so it's going to be good to get all these guys back. And I'm pretty sure they'll be in big TV fights pretty soon. And he's at super middleweight, so that's an interesting division.
Plenty of good fights there. Yep, and obviously with our... Yeah, no, exactly, mate. Well, obviously with our good mate Mike Altamura and Pro Bellum behind these guys, I'm sure they'll get every opportunity. Yes, Tazzy.
They're all Mike's guys. Jason Malia, Jack Bowen, Nathaniel Cheeky May, Mattia Tapia, Mike Altamura. He's behind these guys. He's the best at what he does. And if Mike's behind you, you've got a better chance than most of fighting for a world title.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
I'm going to say.
No, exactly. All right, we'll move on to the last bit of the Aussie news before we get into the juicy world news, and that is our boys, Team Maloney, Jason and Andrew, to feature on the Cambosis Haney Undercard. We've obviously been talking about this for the last few weeks, but it's been confirmed that Jason will be the main support to Haney and Cambosis. He'll fight Aston Palasate, if I pronounce that right, Pete. You'll know a lot about him. He's from the Philippines. Is that how you pronounce it? Yep. For the WBO International and WBC Silver Bantamweight title. So Jason, 23-2, 18 KOs. Palasti, I think it is, 28-4-1, 23 KOs. Now, Pete, he actually... Oh, no, sorry, wrong opponent. Oh, no, he has actually had 2 cracks at the world title. He fought Kazuto Aoka in 2019 for the WBO Super Flyweight title, stopped in 10, and he had a draw against Donny Nites, who you'd know really well as well. So that was back in 2018. So not an easy fight for Jason.
No, look, I know Palante pretty well, and I saw his fight with Nites, which was a draw. Donny Nites is a really crafty fighter. He's 38 years of age now. I think he's with Pro Bellum now, Nites.
Okay.
But, yeah, I don't think Jason's going to have much issues with Palante. I mean, he's not... look, Jason shouldn't have any issues with him. It's a good fight to have on TV against an opponent like that. I mean, he's okay, but he's not... Jason's got to get through guys like this if you're going to be fighting for world titles.
Yeah. Credit to everyone for taking the fight and obviously organising the fight. Also, Andy, the Munster Maloney will take on Alexander Espinoza from Nicaragua. Andy, again, same record as Jason, 23-2, but 15 KOs. Espinoza 21-3-2 with 8 KOs. Now, interesting, Pete, with the undercard, and you'll be able to confirm this, 14 fights. They're going to have the ones...
11.
Okay, 11 so 11.
Fights.
So they're going to have X amount of fights up to the main event. The main event's, I think, at 1:30 or something like that, and then they'll have more fights after that. Is that correct?
They could, yeah, they're going to wait and see, but there's 11 fights matched, so it's going to be an interesting program, isn't it?
11 fights matched. So Tassie, so far, I think I did mention as well, so they've got Junior Farr and Lucas Brown, which will be a good one. I see Taylor Robinson's on the card, Terry Nicholas on the card, so it's starting to build, but these two here will be the icing on the cake.
Yeah, 100% happy for both Andrew and Jason to fight in front of their hometown fans. They fight on the road more than they do in their own country. So, yeah, really happy for him. Obviously, we knew Andrew was on, but Jason now is on, so it's really good. And hopefully they'll be fighting for world titles very soon. And I was just going to say, I spoke to the MC last night. He's MCing every fight,
Dan, yeah,
except for the main one, which Michael Buffer will be MCing. So I gave him a lift back to his hotel last night on my Uber.
Yeah.
And he's very happy that he's doing all the fights except for the main one. So that's good.
Not bad, is it, Pete? Michael Buffer flies business class all the way down to Australia just for one fight. It's not a bad gig. Probably gets paid $100,000. You can't argue with that.
Yeah, good old LaBuff. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? It's going to be a great night. Or great day for us. Anyway, it won't be a night.
Well, night for me. I'll be in New York watching it, so I can't wait for that either. So it'll be a bit different over there. But Michael Buffer, Pete, 76 years old, coming down under with his 26-year-old wife.
Yeah,
so
I did get a call from Patrick Cusack today.
Oh, yeah?
Mauricio Suleiman, the WBC president, will be arriving 3 days before as well.
Nice.
So we'll look out for Mauricio.
So before we move on, mate, we obviously won't spend too much time because we're running behind already. But we're only about 3 weeks away, 3 or 4 weeks away. Any other things happening out there that we should know about?
I think Diabella gets here next week and Haney gets here next week. There's been talk that Haney could be training at Team Alice's gym.
Okay.
I don't know if that's confirmed yet. And yeah, basically he's got his medicals up to date, and he just needs to get here and basically see a doctor and get registered, which I'll probably do very early, and away he goes.
Yeah, no, it should be great. Well, we haven't sort of spoken about it yet, Tassie, but onto the world news I'm talking about. But our man Canelo Alvarez, I was going to say, didn't lose his world title. He failed in his attempt for another world title. Dimitri Bivol upset Canelo Alvarez over 12 rounds to retain his WBA light heavyweight title. In hindsight, was it a shock?
Yeah, I mean, look, I picked Canelo to win it. I'm not going to change my opinion now. I thought Canelo, just a little bit the way he's fighting at the moment, the level he's at. But in saying that, I mean, look, when you look about it, Bivol, great amateur, 200-odd fights for Russia. Big guy, natural light heavyweight, like in his prime. Kovalev was past it when Canelo went up to light heavyweight. Good boxer. And look, I mean, he stuck to his game plan. He fought a very intelligent fight. He picked his times. He didn't sort of, fall for any Canelo's tricks, but I don't know, Canelo maybe didn't carry the weight well this time, and against a good guy in his prime. I mean, he wasn't fainting like he usually faints, or head movement wasn't there, the jab wasn't there, just hands up and trying to fight the ropes, and Bivol wouldn't fall for it. I mean, it's a very disciplined fight by Bivol. We all thought Canelo would win, and we all thought he beat Bedayev too, but I mean, when we think about it now, it's proven that really Bivol, they always say a good big man beats a good little man, and obviously Bivol's a bit better of a man than we thought, and now Bedayev would be a nightmare, you think. But I do think Canelo can adjust and win the rematch. I do think that.
What were your thoughts, Pete? Do you think it was just a matter of him biting off more than he can chew, or maybe looking forward to the Triple G trilogy?
Look, like all sports, you have a flat period. I mean, I thought it was a touch flat. They said he started a vegan diet and this type of stuff. To me, he looked a touch sluggish, and he just didn't look like the Canelo that we know. But saying that, Bivol started well and landed some good shots on him and started getting his attention. And Bivol kept to a very good game plan. He used his reach, he used his height, he moved around, used angles, punched in bunches, had really strong output in his punches and strong punches too. And he didn't get sucked in. He'd land his 3 or 4 shots, he'd get his little victories, and he'd dance away. He wouldn't let Canelo, fire back at him. So it was a disciplined performance, great game plan. In the rematch, obviously, Canelo's going to treat him differently and train differently. And we know how much the judges love Canelo. I mean, the topic here is how can you score that 115, 113? That is simply disgusting. I'm a massive fan of Canelo, this and that, but mate, this is not boxing, it's bullshit, and that's the difference why a lot of people turn off the sport, because you've got rat shit judges like that. If you think that Canelo won 5 rounds in this fight, you seriously, it's impossible to me watching it. He won 5 rounds. I don't know how you guys felt anyway.
Look, I must admit, well, as we're talking about that, I'll put up the actual scorecards there. And one thing I will say before I comment there is that you'll see there that for the first time I think I can ever remember, apart from total shutout decisions, you can see there all 3 judges scored it exactly the same. They've had the first 4 rounds to Canelo, and they all gave him the 9th, and every round after that was for Bivol. I think I spoke to Tassie about this. I wasn't surprised at the 115, 113 cards, and I'll explain why. Is that I'm with you, Pete. If you look at it as a boxing fan and an expert or whatever we might be, is that I agree with you that I think Bivol won. You know, you look at it had to have been at least probably 8 rounds, if not 9 or even 10. But to look at it through the judges' eyes, where they're looking at that, we mightn't score the punches on the arms, but they might. Sometimes the judges get. They look at one fighter. When there's one big name in the event, they tend to watch one fighter and not the other fighter. Lots of different reasons why, but I must admit, I wasn't surprised at all with the 115, 113 card that they've judged them. Do I agree with it? No, but I can see why they would have scored it that way. But as I said, by scoring Canelo's power punches that didn't land, scoring the arm punches that shouldn't have scored, and as I said, really looking at Canelo rather than his opponent. But what did you think, Tassie?
I had it 8-4.
8-4.
I mean, I'm a massive Canelo fan. And I can probably be a bit biased towards him, but 8-4. I didn't give him the first 4 rounds. And I was
I didn't either. No.
I was trying to be biased, but to get off and win 4 rounds in a row to start a fight, geez, you're pretty much almost there. But I mean, yeah, I was trying to find rounds to give to Canelo more, but. Mate, Bivol, as you said, Peter, very disciplined effort. That's what discipline. Didn't try and do too much more. What he was doing was working, and he stuck to it. Didn't go off the game.
Pete, the scary thing in this as well, in this one, is that if Canelo had actually won the last round, it would have been a draw. So you can imagine the outrage at that. If he had just pulled that last round out after being completely dominated for the whole fight, if he had just dug deep and won the last round, it would have been 114-114 on all 3 cards.
I cannot believe the judges scored Canelo a draw with Floyd Mayweather. Anyone that watched that fight, how could that judge have given... It was a female judge as well, if I can remember correctly. It scored it a draw.
Adelaide Bird, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, but how could
she's a prostitute now, I think.
I think that's the only thing we fall back with boxing. I mean, these guys train hard. I'm a massive Canelo fan. He's one of my favourite. But you've got, if someone comes in as a B-side, they've got no story. We don't know much about them. Don't let them have to dominate. I mean, if they really won the round, score it that way. Don't say, I'm going to give it to Canelo because he's such a big superstar and this guy's unknown. You know, it really, I think, hurts our sport. Let's score it the way it is. Don't reward the guy if he did win the round, but if he did win the round, there's no way in the world Canelo won the first 4 rounds like that. It's impossible.
Best case, it was 2. Best case.
So maybe they were watching thinking, you know what? We're scoring it to Canelo and waiting for Bivol to go away, but he's not going to go away. So they reassigned how they thought the fight was going to go. It's so different to umpires that judge the brown line and give votes. Sometimes you have a massive year the first year, and the umps don't really know who you are, so they don't vote for you. But the following year, they realise that guy should have won the brown line. He has maybe not as good a year, but he wins the brown line. I understand that's how it works, but yeah, it just hurts for me when you're watching with your mates and you have to explain it. How did Canelo win 5 rounds? Well, I don't know. No one knows.
Tassie, the only thing I could think of as well, especially in those first 4 rounds, is Canelo started really quickly. You know, he took centre ring. He tried to get off to a really good start. Bivol was obviously more effective, but I think that's the only thing I can think of is that Canelo was aggressive early. Whether he was landing punches or not, we'll never. It's hard to sort of gauge, but that's probably the only thing I can put it on. Sorry.
I think Canelo wins a rematch.
Yeah, I would hope. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Yeah, that's on the talking points later.
I think he's the type of guy that can win a rematch. I really do. I think he needs a challenge. Yeah. He just got it.
Tassie, we're going to get on. Sorry, mate.
Sorry?
It's all right. I'm going to get on to the next one. I want you to comment on this one. We've got this weekend. This is obviously close to home. This one, Jamel Charlo, Brian Castano for the World Super Welterweight title. It's actually taking place what used to be the StubHub Centre or Home Depot Centre, whatever it is. It's now called the Dignity Health Sports Park in Carson, California. But been some great fights there. This will be a ripper. What do you think about this one?
I was there for Mosley in Mayorga 1. Thanks to Justin Fortune. Look, mate, Tim and Matty Rose and Glenn Jennings left this morning, so they'll be in LA now, and because Tim's going to face the winner, hopefully. And look, last one was close. I thought Castano won the last one. I think Charlo makes a few. He adapts and makes a few changes this time. I think Charlo wins this one.
What do you think, Pete? How do you see it going?
Yeah, look, it's a tough one to score. Tough one to look at. Rematches are really funny. Look, Charlo's obviously a bit classier, and but I really like Castano. He's more of a pro, the way he just bangs around, and he's just a banger and fights with so much spirit. But this is what boxing's all about. So if you're not really thinking about watching it or not watching a fight, you really want to watch a proper fight, watch this fight, because it's going to be seesawing. It's going to be a massive contest, and it's good that Tim Tszyu's gone over there. I mean, Tim Tszyu's poised to face the winner, and that's the next question. I mean, could you imagine Tim Tszyu fighting a Charlo or Castano? Where does he sit?
I think he's a great chance. I think Charlo would be the harder fight. Again, getting back to styles, I think Castano's custom made for Tim. I think Charlo would be a little bit more difficult, but I don't think Tim would really care. I mean, he just wants to be champion, and he'll fight either one. But I think Charlo would be the probably the one with the more appeal for me. But it's on main event. 11 a.m. on Sunday morning. It costs $29.99, so jump on main event and watch that one. It should be an absolute ripper.
Great value. Great value.
$30 for sure. So we'll see what happens after that one. Tassie, one more international news before we get on to the talking points. I'm not sure whether everyone's across this one, but tomorrow, on Sunday morning, Australian time, Floyd Mayweather is back to fight Don Moore in an exhibition.
Do this. Why are we wasting our time?
I'm just quickly mentioning it is Floyd Mayweather.
Is there another circus in town?
I'm just quickly mentioning it. The only reason I'm trying to give our mates at main event a bit of a plug. If you want to get up at 4 a.m. and spend $30, it's on main event, if you can believe that, Pete. Now, it's on main event for $30. Yep, they're charging $30 to watch it. But if you're not familiar with where they're having this fight, as I said, it's on the Burj Khalifa helipad in Dubai. Now, if you don't know anything about the Burj Khalifa helipad, that is it. So you can see there on the left how tall it is. It's actually 800
bucks to watch. Are we paying $30 to watch the Burj Khalifa helipad in Dubai? We're paying $30 to watch an exhibition.
We're a news outlet, so it's 830 metres high, which is 2,700 feet.
Yeah. How would you like to bungee jump off that, Tassie?
If Manny Pacquiao's fighting the Eiffel Tower, you'd pay $100 to watch it.
Well, you won't spend too much time on it, Pete.
Tassie, he fights. It's not an exhibition.
Well, if it was an exhibition.
Like dancing with your sister.
Well,
listen,
Manny doesn't do exhibitions. He fights.
Not yet.
Fair call, Peter. I'm not gonna.
He's at his third or fourth exhibition. You can't milk it. How much are you looking for?
Well, don't buy it, Pete.
Give me a sec.
Oh, you'll be watching
I'm not going to say Peter. I'm not going to say I support the exhibition.
Go, Toby. You're right.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm not going to say I support the exhibitions, Peter, at all. Look, it's like this. If Floyd can keep robbing, making money, robbing banks, people are dumb enough to pay for it. Good luck to them. I don't, like you said, I'm into the rule fights. He's had his career, living legend. Obviously, if you can do it, would you do it? I mean, or we can get free money or whatever, but I'm not a massive fan of the Jake Pauls and the Logan Paul and whatever else stuff and YouTube TikTokers. But look, I'm not Floyd. He can make money like this. It's a bank robbery. I'm not going to watch it. I'm a big supporter of Floyd. But, so look, it is what it is. The exhibitions, I'm not into none of it. I'm about rule boxing or just go and leave the sport. But, again, I'm not these guys. I can't make the money these guys have got. So, if I could do it, maybe I'll be putting an exhibition on in Port Melbourne tomorrow night and making a few bucks. But
I reckon Tassie Brown exhibition in Tasmania might sell a few tickets. I reckon. But anyway, before Peter spits the chewy and leaves the show, we're going to move on to the talking points. The talking point, actually, mental note, Lyndon. Talking point. Don't ever bring up something that's not a real fight. Keep it real. So you're all good, Pete? You want to have a drink of water before we move on?
I mean, we've got to respect the sport. We've got to respect people that pay, and people that don't understand the sport, and then you hoodwink them. And then when we try and do something that's good, we cop it because this guy's trying to make money as a pension, like a pension refund, a superannuation thing.
He hasn't. I will say in his defence, though, Pete, that he's made no secret of the fact that it's an exhibition and it's all about the cash. He hasn't pretended it's a real fight. That's the only bit of credit I'll give him. But I'm with you. I certainly won't be paying $30, and I certainly won't be getting up at 4 a.m. to watch it. Apparently, there's only like 20 or 30 people going to be actually up there watching it. It's all going to be pay-per-view. So I don't know who would pay pay-per-view. But let's go on to the talking points, guys, because we've got 5 to get through. We're going to be a long show the way we're going. Let's go on to the first one, guys. A lot of it's about the Canelo fight. Tassie, I want you to answer this one. I've got a feeling what you'll say. Was Bivol disrespected as a Russian? Now, what I mean by that is... Let me say the talking point. And you can comment as well, Pete. First of all, I'll get Tassie too. But I'm alluding to Bivol. They didn't play the anthem. They didn't allow the flag, which... You'd probably make an argument for either one, but the big thing that I was really surprised on, they didn't actually announce where he was from. Surely they could have said he was from Russia. They said he was from California. Tassie, you've got the floor first.
Absolute joke. Listen, it's about a sport. Take the politics out of it. They play the Mexico national anthem, the American national anthem. This guy deserved to hear his Russian national anthem. Now, let's not... The politics of politics. War is war. This is a sport. It's the same as a Russian guy, the tennis player playing at Wimbledon or the Oz Open. Now, my counter thing, if you're some dickhead that thinks, Russia this, Russia that, fuck you. America kill Iraqis, Syrians, Afghanistanis.
Stick to the point, Tassie. Stick to the point.
No, listen, 1 second. Israel bombs Palestine every day. It's going on now. So, do they get their national anthem played? It's a joke. He should have been able to play. Russia's not this bad frigging thing. It's just a country that's going through stuff at the time. No one's got the right to judge. Shut your mouth. He should have had his national anthem played. If you don't agree, fuck you.
Yeah, Pete, do you think they at least should have said where he was from and not that he was from California? I mean, everyone knew he was Russian, but do you think it's a little bit of political correctness gone wrong? They didn't want to upset anyone, so they didn't do anything. I thought... Look, I'm not going to say I understand the anthem and the flag and whatever else. I think they actually explained to him they weren't going to do it, but actually not mention where he was from, I thought it was disrespectful. What did you think?
Yeah, Russian players, tennis players have been banned from Wimbledon now. So
which is wrong, I think.
I don't know. I mean, that's why sport came about. So we can compete with countries and not go to war with countries. Sport should be something that, mends bridges. And it's good that they allowed him to fight and they allowed him to make all that money inside of America. And he's from Russia. They didn't stop the fight. Yeah. They could have stopped the fight if they wanted to. like the Tennis Association have with tennis players. But it's good they let the fight go on. He won the fight anyway.
Yeah.
So he got the big pot of gold back home. I mean,
Yeah.
whether you hear national anthem or not, look, we could sit here being political. Look, it would have been nice to hear the national anthem. It would have been nice to acknowledge us from Russia. I get 100%. All that, but it didn't rock on.
Look, I don't think he was overly concerned about it, to be fair, but I think maybe because he was
going right now.
Yeah, he was probably obviously. Yeah, hang on, mate. Obviously, he knew he was the B side, so he probably just played the game. But I don't know. I thought it was a bit disrespectful.
It's not about A or B side. It's about if they're trying to brainwash everyone. When the Jews and the Israelis can kill Muslims every day, every year, right now, and America can do whatever they want every year because you're all a fucking bunch of sheep and believe it. And this is the main thing. Wake up and get your head over your ass, people, because you're being fooled by America and the propaganda Jewish people.
All right, let's get on to talking point number 2. Pete, rematch or trilogy? Should he take the rematch or take the Triple G trilogy instead?
He can't fight Triple G now because the like everyone would just be saying, "What does he rematch Bivol?" You know, the Polish has gone off that fight, so he can't. I mean, Hearn and Matchroom said straight after the fight they're going to go straight into the rematch, and he wants the rematch, and that's what you do as a fighter. You don't take another fight in between. You go straight into that guy that beat you, and you beat him. And make no mistake, you know, this is what Canelo wants. He's got a challenge now, and in the rematch, I think he beats Bivol. I think he's going to take it differently, and I think you're going to see a different Canelo. He needed a slap in the face. It was unbackable odds. He went in there, obviously, he didn't lose by a lot. He was competitive, don't get me wrong, and he had his moments in his fight with adjustments. A few different little things. I think he can beat Bivol. So, and the thing now with Bivol, he's going to be a lot more confident, but his life's going to change as well. He's going to have a lot more commitments. A lot more people are going to want his time. And he's probably, I mean, what would he have got for this fight? 7 or 8 million?
Probably,
what's he going to get in a rematch?
Twice
20,
that.
25 million?
Yeah.
20, 25 million. So he's going to become a big player now. So it's going to see how he handles success as well. We know how Canelo handles the success, because he's had it for a long time. We know he's going to step up. He's going to bring it. And I think next time, I think it's going to be a different Canelo. So I think as fans, we all want to see the rematch. I mean, you know, Triple G, 40 years of age, a bit sluggish at the moment, hasn't really been fighting. That will not draw as many pay-per-view buys as what Bivol and Canelo Alvarez rematch will.
Tassie, what do you think? Should he say that I dared to be great and it didn't come off this time, and go for back to the big money or the big fight with Triple G, or like Pete said, say no, I want to avenge the L.
Avenge the L. Canelo's a true champion. And look, it just shows how many dickheads that are not in boxing, but comment on boxing. Like people bagging out Canelo, this, that, and bringing up the fight lost with Floyd and the fight with Lara and the fight with this one, that one. Mate, the Triple G first one. Listen, Ray Robertson went up and fought Charlie Maxim, and the only thing that stopped him was the heat. Referees passed out, but he didn't officially win the light heavyweight title. He went back to middleweight. He dared to be great. Guys got Bob Foster went up to heavyweight and fought. I think Fraser, Ali got knocked out. Great light heavyweight. Never won a heavyweight world title. Sometimes guys can do it. Roy Jones went up and beat John Ruiz. David Hay beat, I think, the big Russian. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Now, if he didn't go back and rematch him, so be it. He had an L.
Yeah.
L's weren't that big a deal back in the day. Chavez, anyone, or going back in the Mexican, Ruben Lavares, or Jake LaMotta, they get a loss, mate. Whatever, you fight again. In this day and age, in this pathetic world we live in, when I say pathetic,
I think someone needs a nap, Pete.
It's the biggest deal in the world. So I know he'll rematch because that's the guy Canelo is. And whether he doesn't win again, I think he will, like Peter does. But if he doesn't, so what? He's not any less of a fighter. He's still the pound-for-pound king. He's got all the belts super middleweight. Crawford still has to beat Spence to take that spot. So he's still the pound-for-pound king. He lost. He didn't get knocked out, didn't get wobbled, didn't get a count stand and 8 count on him. He lost to a great big fighter, a good experienced amateur, smart, intelligent guy. And that's it. It's not the biggest deal in the world.
Yeah.
It's not.
All right. Well, I'm sure that'll be the case. He'll take the rematch. So talking point number 3. Well, you just touched on it then. Who's pound for pound? Does he remain unscathed, or does Crawford, who, in my opinion, shouldn't be, should he be number 1? Now, my opinion, before I get you guys to comment first, I'll get you to comment first, Pete. But my thing is, when you've got a fighter that fights once a year in Crawford, just because Canelo's had a setback, should not mean that he loses the crown. What do you think?
Look, Canelo's stepping up in weight. Darren would be great. He's still a pound for pound number 1 because he's earned that right. He's earned that right. Crawford really hasn't beaten anyone to earn that right to be the. He hasn't got the CV that Canelo has. So I still say Canelo's still a pound for pound number 1.
Yeah, and I was just going to say before I let you talk there, Tassie, is that with Crawford as well, you just don't inherit number 1. You've got to earn number 1. What do you think?
He beats Spence.
Yeah, well, you make the case.
That fight hasn't happened yet. No, Canelo's still got it. I mean, we know, Anui's there and Usyk's there. But at the moment, look, he went up, as Peter said, there to be great. And he's still the man. He's got all the belts at super middleweight. He's been that active. He's been the king of boxing for so long now, and he deserved it. It's like Manny or Floyd at their time as peak, pound for pound, going up and suffering a defeat. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he's still the number 1 guy. That's it.
All right, number 4. This is an interesting one. I'm keen to hear this. Michael Zarafa. What if? Now, Pete, there's obviously talk. I think our old mate Nick Noonan boy put it up during the week that with Triple G, if it doesn't happen, that he could be in line to fight. He might choose to fight someone like a Michael Zarafa. What do you think? What happens? I know you're going to say it's not going to happen, but what happens if it did? Has Michael Zarafa got a chance against Triple G, or is he kidding himself?
Oh, no, I mean, everyone's got a chance, I guess, but, Triple G, 40 years of age, he's still got pretty good power, and he's been there for a very long time. We're talking about the same Triple G that's going to be fighting Canelo Alvarez. People give him a chance in that fight. So, I don't know. I don't think that fight's going to happen with Zarafa. I just can't visualise it because obviously I know what does Triple G do though? I mean, he hasn't been active of late. The fights aren't there that he wants. What does he do? Does he still wait around for Canelo? Canelo exercise a rematch. That means he doesn't fight Canelo till next year.
Yeah.
What do you do? I don't know. I'm not his manager. We're not his managers. We don't know. If a Zarafa fight comes up, it makes money, it makes sense, he'll probably do it. Who knows?
Tassie, any chance of beating Triple G or?
Mate, look, if he gets a shot, he'll take it with both hands, and good luck to him. He deserves a world title shot. So I mean, strange things that happen, mate. If he if he gets a shot, then I'll be behind him all the way.
All you got to do is look at the recent years, mate. Cambosos over Lopez, the Horn over Pacquiao. Miracles can happen. I did actually hear a little bird did tell me though that, and I'm not sure Pete you've heard anything about this, but there's rumours that Michael could be in line to fight a former world champion. That's not one of these guys. So in his next fight, a former 154.
Oh, well, tell us. Then come on, it's your show. Tell us. No one sues you.
I did. Look, I'm not going to.
You're sitting up in Mount Macedon. No one dare touch you.
I'm not going to disclose my sources, but
your guns never on looking after you, so just go king and.
Well, we'll put it out there. I did hear that Jaime Munguia might be around the mark, but we'll see. Who knows?
My information is that Mikhailovic could be the next opponent for Zarafa.
I'd love to see that fight. That'd be a ripper.
That's my information. What do I know? Zero.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
We'll see in the quiz what you know, Peter.
Right, we've got one more thing to get through, then we're going to get on to the quiz.
We will.
All right, well, one thing before we go, we'll make it quick because it's more so my little tirade, I suppose we'll call it. Last night, Fox missed an opportunity, Tassie. Now, what I mean by that is, last night I sat with Shotgun Shannon O'Connell in the crowd. She was there as part of the No Limit Zoo Glenn Jennings team. Commentating at ringside was Ebony Bridges. Now, we were sort of told that, they would have loved to have had some sort of, not altercation, really, but you know what I mean, like a face-off or a little bit of this, a little bit of that, just to maybe get the ball rolling as far as a potential fight goes. I was sort of told that, we've got to stick to the schedule. There's not enough really time to sort of do it and everything else. But in the meantime, they interviewed rugby players that I'd never heard of in my life. I know the Newcastle people probably had, but they interviewed people in the crowd, people at ringside. They did the kiss cam, whatever the hell it was in the crowd. But the fact that they had about half a dozen interviews during the night, I really think they missed an opportunity to create a bit of a platform for the girls. Not to say it's going to be a massive event like the Katie Taylor and the Serrano fight was, but I just think on the back of that, they could have really, as I said, started the ball rolling for that fight down the track, and have the Australian version of Taylor versus Serrano, maybe not even as a standalone, but maybe as an undercard to a Nikita or a Tim or whoever. But what do you think? Should they have got the girls together? I think it would have been great.
Totally agree. I thought it was happening. I thought that's the reason. They're both in the building. I mean, Ebony Bridges is in England now, so I don't know how often she's in Australia, but it's a no-brainer, Lyndon. It would have been awesome timing to build an awesome fight between two Australians. One's got a belt, one's deserving of a belt.
Number one challenger.
It makes no sense that it didn't happen. I don't know why, and you explained that everyone else was getting in. I think I got an interview at one stage, so they should have got an interview. I don't know. You
got an interview? Who interviewed you?
Sorry?
What, Fox interviewed you, or main event?
No, not Fox. Someone out the back. Places.
All right. Yeah. What do you think, Pete? I know they've got to get the rugby guys on there and all that sort of stuff, but we're told there's not really a window to do it. Do you think they've just missed a real opportunity to create something here?
Yeah, why not? Why not? If you could do it, you could do it. I just guess on a night, a lot of things are happening and things are going 100 miles an hour. It didn't happen. In hindsight, it probably would have been a good thing.
I will say, though, they did actually cross paths after the fight, Tassie, on the way out. I think Ebony was on the way out of the room, the venue, and cross paths with Shannon. I think there was a couple of nice glares at each other. I'm not sure there was any trash talking going on, but there was definitely some looks at each other and a bit of sizing each other up. So I just think it'd be great for Aussie boxing to have that fight down the line. I think it'd be great. And Shannon's now the number one challenger, so it's got to happen or Ebony's going to have to give up the belt.
We need Peter in the middle of them there, trying to separate them.
Keep your hands to yourself, Pete.
Break it up, mate.
Keep my hands so you can see them, Tassie.
All right, guys.
So we can see them, Tassie.
Well, it's that time of the night. We've gone over time a little bit, but we've always got to make time for everyone's favourite segment. It is, of course, the deep dive quiz. Now, Tassie, how many is that now? 8-1.
8-1. Peter says 8-2.
What is it, Lyndon? You're the
it's
judge.
8-1.
Did you count? You didn't count the movie one as a quiz?
Oh no, we did decide to do that. It's 8-2. Sorry, Tassie. It is an official one. It was part of the show, so it's not our fault. You don't know your boxing movies. So it's 8-2. All right. So you all know the rules, guys. We'll get straight into it. Number one. Obviously, the 5 Aussie questions first. How many successful defences did Johnny Famishon make of his world title? Successful defences.
Tassie.
Yes, Tassie.
3.
Incorrect. Peter?
4.
No, he actually had 2, both against Fighting Harada, strangely enough, who obviously Lionel Rose beat as well. So that was that one. Who did Anthony Mundine lose his WBA super middleweight title to?
Tassie.
Peter?
Manny Siaka.
He did. Manny Siaka, 2004. I've thrown that one in for you, Tassie. After last week you had a whinge about, was it Lester Ellis, I think it was. I threw the Mundine question in and he beat you to the punch.
I had it, but he was quicker on the trigger. Yeah.
All right, 1 to Peter, 0 to Tassie. How many brothers were in the Sands family?
Tassie.
Peter.
Tassie.
5.
Incorrect. Peter?
4.
6. 6 Sands brothers in total. Yep, there were 6 brothers.
4?
Yeah, 6 brothers. Yep, they all fought. 6 brothers.
Huh?
Yep. And obviously he tragically died. I actually did a bit of research on him. He was a very underrated.
It was a truck accident, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah. And he was actually.
Dave Sands.
He was very highly ranked. Dave Sands was. Yeah.
Mate, they said he could have been Robertson at the time. One of the greatest we've had, mate, ever.
Yep.
He was in my top 10 Australian pound for pound when we first done the show.
Yeah.
Great fighter.
And obviously his other name was Richie, of course. He was also known as, and the Richie is a great fighting family as well, of course. So, all right. How many gold medals did Australia win at the '98 Commonwealth Games?
Tassie.
Yes, Tassie.
Peter.
Which one was it?
98 Commonwealth Games. How many gold medals?
98.
Yep.
1998.
98. Yep.
None.
Yes, that's correct. 0. We dropped the ball. Disgrace to the country. You won 4 bronze medals. Couldn't get the job done, Pete.
Kuala
Lumpur, yep, in Malaysia. So it's at 1-1, I think it is. All right. Last Aussie question. Between 1988 and 1989, Jeff Fennick had 4 straight fights at Rod Laver Arena in Melbourne. Who was the first of the 4?
Peter.
Yes, Peter.
Go Navarro.
Incorrect. Tassie.
The Flea, Richardson.
No, it was Tyrone Downs was the first one. 1988. And I think Navarro might have been second, Pete. And then it was Richardson and then Villasana, I think, after that. All right, into the international questions. What is it, still 1-1? Good questions tonight then, if we were only at 1-1. Who was the first light heavyweight to win the heavyweight world title?
Peter.
Yes, Peter.
Roy Jones Jr.
Incorrect. Tassie.
Michael Spinks.
Correct. Michael Spinks, 1985, when he beat Larry Holmes. And won the rematch, of course, as well. So 2-1 for Tassie. What Olympic gold medalist and former world champion was the recent trainer of Deontay Wilder?
Tassie.
Yes, Tassie.
Mark Breland.
Sorry?
Mark Breland.
He was Mark Breland. Correct. Come on, Pete. We've only got a couple to go here. 3-1?
Yeah.
All right. James Toney had 3 draws in his career. Name one of the opponents.
Tassie.
Yes, Tassie.
Mike McCallum.
Correct. Mike McCallum. The others were Hassim Rahman and Sanderlin Williams. All right. Last one before the Who Am I? Who was Muhammad Ali's final opponent?
Tassie.
Peter.
Yes, Tassie.
Trevor Berbick.
Trevor Berbick. Jesus, turned into a rout, Pete.
Can we get an extra point for where it was? You know where the fight took place?
No extra point.
Can I get an extra point to name the place where it took place?
No, you can't.
We'll give you a pat on the back, mate. What was it?
It was at the Bahamas.
Bahamas, was it? I didn't know that. I thought it was Caesar's Palace. There you go.
No, it wasn't. You
All
can
right.
look it up.
Who am I? Last one. Little saving face here, Pete. At least you can get this one. Who am I? I was born on August 25th, 1977. After an amateur record of 105 wins and 12 losses, I turned pro in 1996. I compiled a 28-0 record before receiving my first world title shot in 1999 when I won the IBF belt with a 7th round KO.
Tassie.
Yes, Tassie.
Antonio Tarver.
Incorrect. Pete, you get all the clues here. After 3 successful defences, I lost my belt in 2001 to a future all-time great by 10th round KO. After a 2-year break, I returned with 4 straight wins before getting another shot at the world title. After losing by 6th round KO, I won the rematch 5 months later to claim my second belt. After one defence, I was involved in one of the most memorable fights of all time when, after 2 knockdowns, I came back to score a 10th round KO. I was stopped in the rematch 5 months later and then lost my next 2 fights. Tragically, I was killed in 2007 in a 3-vehicle accident at the age of just 29. My final record was 40 wins, 5 losses and 33 KOs. My nickname was Chico. I am
Diego Corrales?
Diego Corrales, correct. Well done. So, yeah, tragically killed. I didn't realise he was actually 29 years of age. Just absolutely tragic that was. So, and of course, he lost his title to Floyd Mayweather. That was the future all-time great. And, of course, the Castillo fight was when he came back from 2 knockdowns in the 10th to win by knockout. So that's it there. I think we're going to have to scrap the quiz for a while, Tassie, and let Peter do some training. Sorry, Pete?
Can you look up, was it Berbick Muhammad Ali fight in Bahamas?
I can look it up right now if you like. I'm on BoxRec. Always have it nice and handy. I think he was from the Bahamas, Trevor Berbick, wasn't he?
So let's get down.
All right. We might have to bring in the winner's soundtrack. Come on, Pete, smile, mate. All right, I'm just looking at it now. Muhammad Ali. It was in Nassau. Is that Bahamas? The Queen Elizabeth Sports Centre in Nassau. I'm assuming that's Bahamas.
Google up Nassau. I thought it was in Bahamas. Can you Google Nassau?
Yeah, I'll do that. Nassau. Let's have a look. I'll get my light out the road here.
Peter.
Bahamas. Correct.
Mate, I was tired.
Bahamas. There you go,
night.
Tassie. Tassie, I don't even know who the opponent is. I can tell you where the fight took place. It was in the Bahamas. Lyndon, you said you were going to give me an extra point for that, or a pat on the back.
I had a big night last night, and you still couldn't put me away.
Not going to live that one down, I don't reckon, Pete. That's 9-2 now. So we might have to let you brush up a little bit on the questions, I reckon. But hey, it was good though that there's a lot of tricky ones in there as well. I think it just more come down to the speed rather than the knowledge. So that was good, Tassie. 9-2, jet lagged. So you know, you've had no sleep. You look like you do need a bit of a nap at the moment. So we'll let you get going. But Pete, mate, great to have you along as always. Great show tonight, and yeah, a lot to talk about. It was good.
Yep. All right. See you later, guys. Thanks,
See you later, fellas.
See you,
See you guys.
Bye.